It's June 11th. It's June 11th. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I stayed up yesterday working and working on my projects, and then back and forth with some projects from work. And I was preparing the video for today. I mean, it's 10:25 p.m. It's been a busy day, but I stayed up yesterday to try to prepare it because I was actually not going to be home tonight, and then that changed. But the video that I'm preparing is the video, chapter 19, episode 8, the night of the launch party. And I mentioned that I had an image in between my sleep state and waking up. And I realized I didn't share everything of that image. So I was actually outside of the studio gate doors, because we have to do, there's a code to get in. And I was out there, and the police officer pointed the gun. I still don't remember if it was at me or next to me, but I remember there was fear in not knowing what was going to happen next. I didn't have a fear of dying. It was just a fear of what's going to happen next. And the, like, knowing that this police officer wasn't a police officer. Like, they were pretending to be a police officer. So I'm preparing that video last night. And, you know, I'd been worried about that video because I've mentioned that I've had other experiences where I'll have a vision, and then when I post it, something happens that's related to it. I mean, you can call it a coincidence or not, but it keeps happening. And I mentioned before that it's symbolic, that there's this symbolism to it. And as I'm reflecting on the other dreams that I've had, aside from the symbolism, it's emotionally connected. Like there's this tendency to evoke a strong emotion so that it resonates, and it's whatever does unfold, it's the same emotion. So what ended up happening, my neighbors, there's yelling, and there's screaming, and there's banging. And it's a small apartment. They're small apartment. I mean, like 500 square foot. That's what we're looking at. About. And I found myself listening to make sure they were okay. Because I could hear the woman screaming and saying, like, leave me alone. Let me go. Let me leave. And the guy is screaming, you're not wanting to talk to me, but he's screaming it. And I'm listening, mostly because I was worried. I was worried. And I didn't know what to do. And you know, it's hard to just stand by and do nothing when someone's like stuck. Or scared. Or hurting, or, you know, it's hard to know how much involvement do you partake in a situation, especially when it's people you don't know. Some people will go to the extreme of pretend like it's not there. It's none of our business, and they walk away. And then there's other people that try to jump in to solve the problem. And so I found myself in that place. I found myself in that place of not knowing what to do and not knowing what was going to happen next. Then the thing is that I know my neighbor, but the people that were fighting weren't my neighbors. I think they might have moved. I think one of my neighbors is still there, but he works at night, and it was a couple that moved in with them, and I didn't know them, but I could hear her screaming, and you could tell that they were triggering each other. And as I'm trying to figure out what to do, I was taken back to my childhood, when I would listen through the wall, you know, when parents fight and they try to conceal it from their kids. I think parents think that they can't be hurt, but they can. And kids know, they just know when something's off. And it's no fault to the parents. The parents are trying their best. But it took me back there, and the thing is, I thought I had dealt with it, I guess, or made peace with it. But that fear of like, what's gonna happen next, crept back in. It crept back in, not knowing what was gonna happen next, not knowing what I was gonna do, if I was gonna go over and knock just to make sure they're okay, or but not knowing how much to get involved. But knowing I didn't want to just pretend like it didn't exist. So I waited and I listened. And then I started hearing, like, I couldn't tell. Someone was being thrown. Or if it was just throwing of stuff because the walls were shaking. So fortunately our apartment has like security. So I called the security because I'm like, I need to do something. So I called security, and they of course took their sweet time. And then they calmed down, and then they started up again. And after a few hours, the security finally showed up. and I can hear them, and they were playing it off like there was nothing wrong. So it's funny because it's not funny, but the image that I saw, it was a police officer who I got the impression like they were dressed as a police officer, but they weren't. But the gun situation, I think, was just to instill that feeling of like, what's gonna happen next? Which is the feeling that I got when I was hearing them yell. So then I got a little nervous about, some people don't want you to get involved in their business, right? When you try to help, they'll tell you it's none of your business. So I worried because I don't know these people, and I'm living by myself. I need to be cautious. I'm worried that they might know who called because I'm the only neighbor they have next to their corner apartment. So I'm the only next door neighbor, and then they have like a neighbor on the back side. So I thought, well, I hope they don't do anything mean to me for calling. So I couldn't sleep last night. Worried. So then this morning, I still was thinking about them, and I thought, okay, well, what can I do just to let them know that I care? That even though I don't know them, I see them and I hear them, and they're important, right? Do not pretend that everything's okay when it's not okay. And the funny thing is, I wonder what cycles they experienced growing up, where they were being triggered by each other, and it just that real. I think a big piece of it was that I haven't been around that a lot. It's been a while. It's been a while that I hear that. Even in my line of work, when I used to do home visits, I remember one occasion, it was a team, me and another colleague went out to a home session, and the dad, it got intense, and I remember freezing. And he froze too. My colleague, we both like looked at each other, and we both like just froze. Like we were both, like I knew we were both taken back to our childhood. And I was aware of what was happening to me, and I had to ground myself. And in the house they had a fish tank. And I started focusing on the fish tank and the colors, and just doing my grounding, the 5 senses. Where am I? I'm safe. Reminding myself what control I had. And it's funny because the video that I'm preparing to post, I talk about level of awareness and doing things differently and change. And so I decide to bake my neighbor's cookies. I thought, okay, I don't know them, but I'll leave them some cookies outside with a note that I heard yelling, right? Acknowledging what I heard. I heard yelling and banging, and that I just wanted to them to know that I care about them, even though simply because they're my neighbors. Simply because they are my neighbors. And we live in a community, in a world right now where people don't trust each other. People are suspicious of each other. Where the trust has been broken. Where people don't care. Or they just don't know what to do. And I wrote that I hope that's not the case for us, even though we don't talk. I put that I hope that they're okay. And that today was a new day. They had an opportunity to learn something different. To break old cycles and do things differently because they deserve the best. And it just, on the way to work this morning, it just hit me. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. Just thinking about the polarity, you know, people. I think it's just they don't know how to get involved without getting too involved, right? Without dismissing them as if they're nothing. Not doing that. But not getting too involved where they become someone's savior. But somewhere in the middle. And I don't think people know how to do that. But just planting a seed for them to consider the possibility that they can do something different for themselves. So I was worried all day because I didn't know if that was what that vision was about or if it was going to be something more. Because of the gun. So I was worried about coming home. And then eventually I just got distracted and I came home anyways. And clearly I'm here. And the security guard came, and then I thought, oh my god, this is a security guard. This is the person who pretends to be a police. So I just thought it was weird. The coincidence of the video that I was preparing to post. And then this event that happened that triggered in me this. And I'm like thinking, why am I getting triggered? Why? Why am I getting triggered? And then I thought about Mercury retrograde. It's hitting my relationships and partnerships. And that had to do with partnerships. In my past, what I was exposed to, you know, without intent. I don't think parents intentionally plan stuff like that, you know. I don't think it's intentional. It just happens. But I thought that was strange. But it triggered me a lot. So I haven't had much sleep. So I thought that was weird. That I had that vision, and then when I post, it comes out. And then it just made me think of all the kids and all the families that still are stuck in that cycle, you know? But they still experience that every day. I mean, when I got into this field, I knew I couldn't do child protective services. I knew I wasn't going to be able to cut it. So I didn't do that type of social work. And then I was taken back to my childhood and looking at my sister and my brother. And then thinking about my parents and what they were exposed to when they were growing up. Because it's just a cycle that continues, right? It just continues without, by default. That's just our default setting. Until you raise your level of awareness that you're a part of this cycle. And then choose to do something different. And I see that change. I see that shift in my siblings. Because before I would get triggered when I was around, I would get triggered when I would see them interact with their kids. I was taken back. I would have flashbacks. Being the oldest, I would have flashbacks of like when they were little. And we've had conversations about it, and they're more aware, and I see the change, I see the shift, and it's different, a good different now. But only because they were open to that level of awareness, of wanting to be different, not wanting to repeat the cycle, you know? It was a choice. It's always a choice. It's always a choice to be more aware. Even if it's hard, even if the truth hurts, it's always a choice. And some people are ready for it and some people aren't. And that's what I talk about in the video, right? Some people prefer to live in ignorance because it's bliss. And then when you've lived a difficult life, it's hard. It's hard to ignore. And then other people, it's hard to change, even with a difficult life, because that's all they know. And it's comfortable, because it's what they know. And they can expect it occurring, right? They know when to expect it. Versus when you shift from that cycle, then you don't know what's going to happen. The fear of the unknown, of what's going to happen next. So I just wanted to share that because that's what happened last night as I was preparing the video to post. That I got triggered unexpectedly. I'm just glad it didn't involve a gun because that was my worry. And then I was at the office at the studio today, so I was worried that something was gonna happen at the studio. But I think it was just related to the fact that I was working late at night at work, and in my house I was working late when this happened. Coincidence? Or did I anticipate it? I don't know. But I guess I'll keep keeping track if more of that happens. Hi, my name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience and that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So